Hi, welcome to another episode of Tell Me How You're Mighty, real talk about cheating. It's Tracy Shorn, Chump Lady here with Sarah Gorel. And today we're going to talk about the worst things that people say to you when you've been cheated on, or all the stupidity. Oh, we have so many submissions. This is just like crazy. I had to cull it down. I'm going to start with Sarah. Did anybody say something really stupid to you when they learned you'd been cheated on?
Yeah, well, my mother-in-law said, "Oh, what did you do to drive my son to an affair?" And I just found it quite astonishing that she thought I had that level of control over his behavior. And I think this is a common thing, isn't it? What did you do, rather than what did they do or why did they do it?
And yeah, that's completely it. And so much sympathy for the cheater, right? You're just collateral, a little spot of collateral damage. You've failed to enchant, and yeah, it's all about them.
Yeah.
So, so we should we
Did you
start with,
get that one? Did you hear that one?
my story was a bit different in that it happened like I had a D-Day 6 months after I got married. So everybody was like, what the fuck? What a monster. Like, oh my God, we didn't see it coming. I mean, it was tragic in the other way. Now I had counselors, and resources do that. Well, you have to win him back. How did you lose his interest kind of thing, which I just thought was bonkers because I was so newly married. So to me, I got the mind fuckery came from all the infidelity resources, which probably drove me to become chump lady years down the road. But no, nobody. I got a lot of divorce shame though. And that's a whole other thing. I mean, I got a lot of single mother shame, a lot of divorce shame, a lot of how could you fuck this up twice. And the older I get, the more I'm like, given that there's so many fuckwits out there, and then we'll put a gender dynamic over it, I'm like, I'm proud of my two divorces that I had the strength to walk away from it. I don't have a magnet beam. I didn't attract these losers into my life. I probably tolerated more than I should have, and I should have got out sooner, but I got out. So,
Yeah,
yay.
and actually better a single parent of however many children you've got, rather than your children and your partner as well, who behaves like an overgrown child.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you hear these stories, you're going to be like, oh, thank God they're out, right? Well, let's start with our first one here.
The worst thing that's been said to me is, at least he didn't cheat with a woman. Right. Because him going to Las Vegas and hiring a male sex worker was so much better than cheating with a woman.
Okay, this whole thing, like, well, it could have been worse, or, at least it wasn't a public service announcement, which is never tell somebody that it could be worse. Like, that's not comforting at all. It's like,
As if there's some kind of hierarchy as well of how deep the pain is according to who they have been cheating with. It's like I've seen actually on your blog sort of people saying, "Oh, but he cheated with somebody that was older than me, and that makes it worse," or "She wasn't as attractive as me." There isn't a sort of hierarchy. Cheating is cheating, whoever it actually is with.
yeah, and it's painful. I mean, I say a lot, there's no pain Olympics. We're not the pain Olympics here. It hurts, and we're all in solidarity for the particular kind of grief that has chumped them. But yeah, it doesn't hurt less or hurt more because it's a man or a woman or whoever they're attracted to. In fact, I really think and this could be a topic of a whole other podcast, but there's a lot of sympathy for people who have same-sex cheaters because you think, oh, they're in the closet, poor them. They can only express themselves through risking your health and STDs and all the rest of it. And they know they're attracted to you're the one, you've been deceived, so I don't understand how there's no sympathy for the chump in that situation. Anyway, I'm sorry this happened to you. Let's go to our next one.
I was at a social event. There were many people that I didn't know. This was pretty recent after I found out that he had been cheating on me for quite a while, but with many different people. One of my friends introduced me to this couple, and they asked me why I live here because it's a small town. And I said, "Oh, we came for my ex's job." And they said, oh, you're getting divorced. And my friend stepped in because she knew I was sensitive at that time and said, oh, her ex isn't a good guy. He was cheating on her. And they looked at me, and the male in the couple turned to me and said, oh, you must be one of those feminists.
Okay, this one really, oh, you must be one of those feminists. It's the same pain Olympics. It's like, because what? Sister wives never get cheated on? Like, it's another way of saying you deserve it. You're a feminist. That's why this happened.
It's just some of these leave me just speechless, really. Some of the way that people conduct themselves and the things that they say, it's just ridiculous. But actually, I'd take that as a compliment. Yes, I am one of those feminists, and I will not put up with any nonsense in my life. Thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. Right. I know. And the fact that this happened in a social setting and this man was with a woman who, like, if somebody said something that oafish and who didn't, nobody slapped him. Nobody, there was no opprobrium. There was no outrage. Like, oh my God. I'm sorry that I felt I want to say that to every single submission. I'm sorry this happened to you. Let's go to our next one here.
When I went over to tell my mother-in-law that my ex was cheating and had a girlfriend, at first she was upset, and we were talking for quite a while. And when I went to leave, I said to her, well, I probably won't see you again. He'll probably come over with his girlfriend the next time. And she says to me, oh, I want to meet her.
Oh, Sarah, I think you can relate to this one.
Oh, well, definitely,
The
because
mother.
I had exactly the same. It's like I became very aware that my mother-in-law, who'd spent our entire married life telling me how appalling it was that her husband had cheated on her and what despicable behavior it was, the moment her son did it to me, she instantly switched allegiance to to my husband's girlfriend, and said, "We must welcome this lovely young lady into the family." And so, which actually meant ditching me out of the family. So I can relate to that, actually. Yes, we are dispensable. And I think this is it, isn't it? You do this whole blood is thicker than water thing. Quite often you have spent years doing the Christmas, wrapping the presents, listening to your mother-in-law sort of talking, having conversations that you don't necessarily want to hear, doing all the heavy work. And then all of a sudden you find that you're no longer needed.
Mhm.
Off you go, replaced by a new model.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think he gets his transactionalism from mom, right? You're all just appliances and you can all be swapped out. And yeah, one's as good as the next. I
I
want to
think
meet her.
I think as well sometimes that maybe that they feel that if they don't go along with the new partner, that they themselves will be dispatched with. So part of it is sort of making sure that they hold on to that central part in their life. If they say I refuse to meet the girlfriend, I'm staying with the cheated on, then they themselves may find themselves very quickly downgraded because it's a precarious balance.
Well, okay, I understand that might be the internal dynamic that's going, but to be so stupid as to say it out loud to the person who is chumped, that's next level cluelessness. I mean, who does that? It's so hurtful and insensitive, that's what I don't get. I get that you're stuck with your children's partners, whoever they are, but yeah, don't hurt the chump's feelings. I mean, if it was my kid, I'd be like, like I'm with the person who made all those Christmas dinners. You're a fuckwit, you can come, but don't bring the girlfriend. Yeah, anyway, but
Problem is we've got lots of competing submissions here that are all equally bad. So let's hear another one now.
okay.
I had this one lady that was my son's friend's mother, I guess you would say. She got in my face and told me that I was going to need to save the marriage and to stop talking about how my husband had cheated on me, and it was terrible. And then, of course, I had my husband's grandmother actually said to me that I was to use my feminine wiles to win him back. And all I can say is just get through this part, because this this is the hard part. That first year especially, people are just judgy and look at you like you did something wrong. So, yeah, this is a triggering question. Talk to you later.
Feminine wiles to win him back.
The trouble is, someone else's feminine wiles have lured him away. Who
Right.
wants to get embroiled in competitive feminine wiles,
I know it's a duel.
trying to lure someone back? I mean, how long will you be using your feminine wiles before you can just relax into a normal relationship again? And I think this whole thing about winning them back, it's something you talk about a lot. Is it's the pick me dance, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
trying to win someone over. And then you spend your entire, if you do win them back, you spend your whole time trying to monitor what they're up
Oh God.
to ensure that they haven't gone back where they came from.
Yeah. I mean, that's my fundamental question. Why would you want them back? That's what I'd say to anybody who says, "Oh, use your feminine wiles or whatever." Let's question the assumption there. Why is this person a prize? Why am I trying to win them back? And feminine wiles, like, oh my Lord. Okay. Okay. Well, Beowulf is going to read our other submissions here. We have a doozy from Catherine.
Catherine says, my ex-husband's therapist told him that once I forgive him, he will truly be free.
This one came from a therapist, which I guess makes it equally horrific, but that only when she forgives him will he be free.
Oh dear.
I
Because
mean,
it's all about him.
yes,
Lovely.
yes, it's all about him. There's actually a term in feminism, I've come across it recently, himpathy, that, how we center men and they're always tragic and, we have to have sympathy for him. Now, I mean, you could argue because we are gender and orientation neutral at Chump Lady, but again, there's usually a gender overlay to these stories. There is something that people, when they look at the chump cheater story, they're like, I want to go with the daring, exciting, boundary pushing person who's the cheater. And the chump is kind of pathetic and embarrassing. And so my sympathy. But I mean, this therapist thinks that, yes, your first order of business should be your cheater's feelings, if they care whether or not you've forgiven them. And these people, first of all, they rarely ask for forgiveness. They think they're splendid. They don't think they did anything wrong by cheating on you. So why are you hung up on forgiveness to begin with? Ugh. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, again, this just highlights the whole. It's all about them. You are just an accessory. Whatever you do, it's all about their feelings, and that really sums that up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Eileen says, quote, that's not the man I know, unquote. Well, of course it isn't. He's an entirely different man to the outside world.
Okay, what do you think about this one, Sarah? I mean, yeah, of course he's not the man you know, right? That's what the double life is, right? If we knew who he was, then the double life would not be surprising.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, yeah. No, it's not the man that anybody knows, is it? I mean, it's just a ludicrous. That is him. It's the implication that some sort of I don't know artificial intelligence version has come in and done the cheating. He did it, so that
That's
he's
right.
the man you know.
Well, it also kind of implies that, forget you, chump. How dare they deceive this onlooker? I mean, like, oh my gosh, that's not the person I know. I thought this person was entirely different, and maybe they still are. I don't know. Are you a reliable narrator? Can I trust what you're saying here? Oh, you're easily fooled, but not me. Again, so insensitive, so stupid, so stupid. Okay, our next one,
There's going to
Diane.
be more. There's going to be more stupid and insensitive offerings. So this is not in splendid isolation.
Yes. Okay. Well, with Diane, we have another sympathy story here.
Diane says, people I knew in my ministry life would come up to me looking all concerned, take my hand, and ask me if fuckwit was all right, then wander away when I didn't answer them.
Yeah. Right. I wonder how he is doing.
Oh, that really annoys me. That really,
You get
really
that one?
annoys me.
It's like, is he okay? Is he holding up under the weight of his own wandering dick? I mean, it's a poor thing. You know, this one, okay. I think there's something going on with chumps. particularly in this case, a middle-aged older woman chump, because I know the person who submitted this, who is who she talks about her ministry life. She's also a therapist. It's that if you are competent and strong, somebody looks at this situation and they have no sympathy for you, right? You're especially as a woman, you're brave, you suck it up, you have the stiff upper lip, and then you get they have more sympathy for the fuckwit who fucked themselves into this mess than you. I mean, you're punished for being competent. You're punished for holding up. I guess you're supposed to dissolve into a puddle of tears. Not that people have a lot of sympathy for that either, but there is, to me, it seems like that, well, you're holding up. How's he doing? As if it's all equivalent.
Yeah, he wreaks chaos in your life, leaves you picking up all the pieces, and then gets the sympathy. But I don't even know what the response to that really should be. I think I'd just wander off and give them the same sort of vacant expression.
Well, it sounds like that's what happened. Yeah, they wandered off. Good for Diane for not buckling under and filling up that awkward pause. Oh, I like this next one.
Lisa says, my therapist said, I'm sorry you feel rejected. Me. What the fuck? I threw him out.
I think this is again. I think when people say I'm sorry you feel, the implication is that you've got no right to feel that in the first place. So again, it's putting the blame on you, and also she threw him out. She didn't feel rejected. She was the one that did the rejecting. And again, it's kind of putting her in the place where not only is she responsible for feeling rejected when there's some awful behaviour clearly gone on, but also she's been put into the fact that she didn't take control.
Yeah,
She's been undermined there as well.
right. There's a bit of a scolding here, a little implicit scolding, like, "Oh, you felt rejected," and she's like, "I threw him out." I mean, the therapist clearly should know, I guess, know in the story that you threw them out, but you're just being so impulsive and emotional. You feel rejected, so you took this very, I don't know, spontaneous action and threw them out. Versus, no, that's the appropriate thing to do. You know?
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
a transgressive, horrible thing this person did. Yeah, I threw them out. Yes. Well done, Lisa. Well done. Okay. The next one, we have a terrible mother.
Grayson says, how about this gem from my own mother when I told her about my ex's persistent harassment and stalking long after I cut off all contact to the best of my ability? Aw, she must really love you. She knew everything about her cheating on me and the other narcissistic abuses. Or how about, aw, well, maybe you just overreacted. Or, nobody's perfect, and that's just the human part of us. Also from my own mom.
Uh, did you wonder if the mom's a cheater? That's what I thought when I read that. What'd you think?
I think possibly, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, no. I think sometimes people react in a way that justifies their own behavior.
Yeah, and the whole you're overreacting, that is like, oh my, as a mother, like if somebody hurt your child, and I'm talking even minimal offenses, you should feel so protective of that kid. So the fact that this mother is like, oh, maybe you're overreacting to your wife cheating on you. I mean, what is wrong with that woman? Again, it shows just how minimized this behavior is in our world and how people don't understand how painful it is, how traumatic it is. And even if you haven't personally experienced, I would hope that you can see the way your child, especially, is behaving, that they're incredibly hurt and upset, and that you would feel for them. I mean, this is just cold, really cold.
Okay, well, let's get some more classic gems then that have come in here.
Jane says, my ex-mother-in-law, who is a licensed family and marital therapist, when I found out. Isn't this tragic?
This isn't tragic, Sarah. It's not tragic. Yeah. To me, this is another way to say shut up. You know?
Yeah, and yeah, Well, what is it then? Well, a tragic. Actually, no, no, it's not tragic because tragedy is a word related to Shakespeare. Anyway, as I learned when I did English literature A level from a teacher that got very, very annoyed at the worst of the use tragic. But actually, I sometimes think that the word tragic could be applied to this because tragedy usually relates to a fatal flaw, and these people's fatal flaw is the fact that they can't stay faithful, and then they bring everybody's life into absolute mayhem.
Yeah, well, they're deceiving you. If you can't stay faithful, okay, lead with that. But the fact that you want all the perks that come with being committed to somebody, but you want to fuck around is deception. That's what that is. Yeah, this isn't tragic. Well, then what is it? I mean, and of course it's a mother-in-law, so she's probably protecting her cheating, offspring. So and the fact that this person's a marriage therapist, you wonder what they're doing to chumps on the sofa there, telling them that their stories are not tragic. They probably did something to make this person cheat on them, and they should really work harder to improve themselves. And that'll be $180 an hour. Thank you. Oh my God. Okay, that one was sad. Let's go to our next one.
Caroline says, so many stupid comments from people, but the one that made me really angry was when a friend said, quote, at least he's paying the mortgage and you're getting your bills paid, unquote. I was left to raise 3 kids as a stay-at-home parent. Now I work part-time and have kids 100%. Fuckwit is still not doing anything to end the separation and start the divorce. I'm saving so I can.
This one you can probably relate to. Like, right? At least he's paying the bills. Of course, we both have fuckwits that didn't pay child support.
Yeah, I didn't have any bills paid. I was just thinking that. No, I can't really relate to that because I didn't get the bills paid. But this is it. It's kind of minimizing what's been done by sort of looking at other behavior that's supposed to be, amazing behavior. Well done. You're
Yeah.
paying the bill or you're leaving somebody in sole charge of your 3 children. Congratulations.
I know. And to me, this one, this one riles my feminist heart because it's saying we cannot expect men to support their families. That's the underlying assumption of this. So that when they do, hey, he paid his child support. You should be grateful. He's going above and beyond. You're so lucky. You're so lucky. Like, that's fucked up. It's fucked up. We have to stop. We have to hold all parents accountable for raising their children. And the fact that people can walk and skate and cancel their subscription to adulting is criminal. I mean, it actually legally is criminal, but we just don't do anything to enforce it. So I think that's the tirade I would have gone on if someone had said that to me. Oh, good for you raising your kids without the support of, I don't know. Yay, he pays his child support. It could change tomorrow.
I really hate this. I really hate this next one. This I find really upsetting when people say this.
Jules says, there are 2 sides to every story, and while I'm sorry, I'm staying out of it, from someone who I no longer have a friendship with, who remains friends with Fuckwit.
Okay, let her rip, Sarah. What do you hate about it?
Well, just take, suggesting that there are two equal sides to be taken, and that one part, you're both equally wrong in this. I'm not there are 2 sides to every story. There aren't 2 sides to every story. Well, there are 2 sides, but one is the right one and the other one is the wrong one. Again, that goes back to that whole thing about, well, it must be you. You must take your blame in this for shifting, them behaving in this fashion. That's something that really annoys me.
Well, and the other thing is, you don't know that they're behaving in this fashion. So how can there be 2 sides to something that you have been deceived about? You have no idea that they're conducting a double life. So what exactly did you do to compel them to do some invisible thing that's invisible to you, right? It's only your fault after it's been revealed. But meanwhile, you have no idea the dynamic that's going on in your relationship, because someone is being completely inauthentic. So how is that your fault? I mean, again, it's a cliche. It's something that people say, but it's a way of telling the person you're at fault. You did this. It's victim blaming. And I come back to, even if you think that, why are you saying it? Like you can have all sorts of ugly, uncharitable thoughts. Human beings do. But why did you say it? It's awful. It's awful. Yeah.
A lot of these actually are blame shifting again. So let's have a listen to what Heather says.
Heather says, quote, "Did you quit putting out?"
Yeah, right. Because people who have sex with their partners, that they never get cheated on, right? I mean, but yeah, there's yeah, you must be frigid. That's boy. Can that one die? Can that trope die? Yeah.
Okay, the next one again. This is another sort of similar one in a similar vein, really.
Aaron says, "My mother said, quote, oh, he's just bored."
Yeah, boredom. I like what if he burned down a barn? Like what if he committed arson because he was bored? Like does boredom excuse every sin? Like what does that even mean? Like why should I care if he's bored? You know? Or does that make it less hurtful that he ruined my life out of boredom versus out of malicious intent? I mean, your barn still burned down.
And actually, usually these people are bored because they don't like proper grown-up adult life. They're bored with the things like putting the bins out, taking the kids to school, doing the homework. Bored by the things that everybody else has to do, which we're probably bored by some of these things actually sometimes, but we have to get on and do them.
Yeah, well, I think the answer to that is to go let them lead their sparkly, fabulous lives without you. And as you know, and as I know, usually that means later fighting over Sainsbury bags that they have, you know, they don't usually go on to have sparkling lives of achievement without us. So it's usually the same mundane fights that they have with Schmoopy. No. Anyway, okay. Ah, Michelle.
Michelle says, "I told a friend my husband had left that weekend without warning, just moved out to an apartment and didn't even tell the kids first. About 10 minutes later, she started complaining that her husband didn't empty the dishwasher." What? I literally had to explain to two small children that their daddy didn't live here anymore, and she had to put away a fork.
This one, okay, I can relate to this one. This is like the one-upsmanship, I'm sorry you have that problem. My husband didn't unload the dishwasher. She's bragging, right?
I
She's
know.
bragging. And I did get that. I didn't get the direct blame because it happened so quickly, but I got a lot of oh, well, my husband would never cheat on me. And I put this one in my book, but one of the ones I got this is from a coworker. She said, "I'm so glad I don't have drama in my marriage. The most startling thing that ever happened to me was when my husband bought that Trans Am, which is an American muscle car. It's a sports car from the 70s." And I was floored when she said that to me, like the self-congratulation of, well, I don't have drama. I'm sorry you have drama, but I don't have drama. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, again, it's displaying a lack of empathy, isn't it, really? There's a lot of lack of empathy going on here.
Okay, I got to tell you though, the coda to the Trans Am story, there was this older woman who also worked in the office and who was sort of a terrible gossip. And later she told me that the Trans Am lady's husband was closetedly gay. So maybe she had drama. Our next one, Swedish.
Mia says, "In Swedish, I get det är tragikt a lot. It is, and tragikt means sad, but also boring, irksome, uninteresting, tiresome, uninteresting. I always reply, det är dramatisk, inte tragikt. It is traumatic, not sad. So annoying because it feels like it minimizes the whole thing, but it might be a lost in translation thing."
So this is another, your grief is very boring. Do you think that's a Scandinavian thing? Or Scandinavians supposed to be kind of cold and unfriendly?
I don't think a lot of people find other people's problems boring and that's the whole thing, isn't it? Your grief is boring, and that's why people want to deflect from your grief and tell you to sort it out and tell you it's your responsibility to try and win them back. They don't want your grief. They want your efforts to try and undo what's gone on and resolve the situation.
God, could anything be more boring than that? Telling them about your pick-me dance and your marriage therapy? That's boring. Like, I dumped the motherfucker and I'm leading a new life and I have a, a sparkling life without him. That's interesting. I mean, like, your grief is not boring, but it's so, again, you might think that, but you're a human being. Are you never going to be vulnerable? Are you never going to have to share your story? And do you want to be met with, this is very boring to me? Yeah, I don't think that's lost in translation. I think that's fuck you in every language.
I think what Kelly says is just appalling. What has been said to her.
Kelly says, well, I'm so glad my husband would never cheat on me. I can't tell you how many people said this to me. It was so painful.
Yeah. Did you get this? I got this one. I got this one repeatedly. I got the, I'm so glad my husband would never cheat on me. Because, you get married to these people totally knowing that they're going to cheat on you. I mean, like, what the fuck? You think everybody gets married to a known cheater? It's just, blah. Who says it? Who says that?
Again, it's sort of it's showing off, isn't it? How marvelous your marriage is, but I think a lot of people prove themselves to be, people that should be removed from your life as well. So this is a good clear out opportunity. Get rid of the cheater, but also get rid of people who aren't really your friends.
Yeah, that's a really good
Do
point.
find out who your friends are during this time.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to be, I don't know, have a squad of pitchforks and drive the guy away and feel angry on your behalf. I think that's a real friend. And maybe that's a future podcast. What is tell us about the supportive people in your life. Oh, okay.
Well, I remember because my kids were very young when this time, I had preschool children and children at primary school, and my ex, I'd really been the one that had the friendships, but he was friendly with some of the dads, and I remember the day that he went to pick the kids up from school, and one of the dads literally turned his back on him, and that felt like such a display of solidarity to me.
Good.
There was no sort of bravado saying, "Oh, look," because some people did. Actually, one of my friends came up to me and went, "Oh, he's been a naughty boy, hasn't he? Oh."
They said it like that, really? Like naughty?
Said it
That
like
was the
that,
word?
and this was somebody that had been cheated on herself and been absolutely devastated, and yet when it happened to me, she thought it was all jolly,
You're
naughty boy,
kidding.
minimizing it.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what to say to that, especially if it was somebody who's chump, like how much pain you're in, and then to make a joke out of it. Not naughty. Again, we're minimizing what happens to people. Maybe that's how she dealt with it by just, eating the shit sandwich that it's really no big deal. Ha 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 ha. Ha. Sob, sob, sob. Like it's just, why are we so fake? Everybody's such a fucking phony. All right. Oh, Miriam, here we go.
Miriam says, my ex-sister-in-law, quote, but you always looked so good and kept yourself thin and fit all these years. My brother, quote, it must be so hard on him that you don't want to sleep with him anymore, unquote. His cousin, aren't you worried that he'll commit suicide now that people know? I can go on and on. Idiots, all of them.
This is another sympathy story, and I think it's another way of saying you drove him to suicide. Aren't you worried he's going to commit suicide if people know he's a cheater? Like, should he thought of that perhaps before he blew his life up?
Well, again, it's implying he's some kind of puppet that she controls. So his own actions are not are not his responsibility. They're her responsibility. So what other appalling behaviour does she have to put up with?
Yeah.
Hoping that he might do something awful.
Right. And the problem is the truth. The problem is that you talked about it, you spoke of it, you said what happened to you. That's the crime, not what he did, but the fact that people will know about it, and that shame will drive him to kill himself, which we're just supposing. We have no idea. But even still, so it's your shame to wear, it's your secret to keep.
Now, this next one, you'd think someone who'd got to 95 would have had a lot of life experience and therefore pass on some wise advice, but very much not the case. Here's what Kirsty has to say.
Christy says, if you don't have sex, men will find it somewhere else. From my grandmother. She has since apologized. After my shock and fury wore off, I realized at 95 that is probably what she was told for her whole life. I felt sorry for her.
You know, we're still fighting these really horrific tropes, aren't we? I mean, yeah, if you don't give it to them, they're going to find it elsewhere. Again, as if people who have sex with their partners never get cheated on. At least the grandmother apologized. I mean, that's better than my grandmother did, because she told me that I was going to die alone and that you could never expect another man to love your child, which I think for her generation, that's what happened to single women. Like, they die
I'd rather
alone.
die alone, but it's not such a horrific thing. I'd rather die alone without that
I
man loving
know,
my
right?
child. If that was the
Yeah,
case.
right.
And
Exactly.
it's the indication that dysfunction is better than being on your own. There's nothing wrong with being on your own.
Nothing. I know.
Don't stay in a bad relationship because you're scared of being on your own.
Well, okay, but this person's 95. So we do have to take a little historic look here that for her generation, women, there were no workplace protections. You know, women were kept out of high earning professions, higher education. You know, we had to have the whole women's movement between when the 95-year-old was a young woman and today. So thank a feminist. Everybody go thank a feminist that you have choices now. But yeah, imagine that. You know, better put out. Even if you stop having sex with him, he's going to leave you to live under that threat. Dear God. Ugh.
Just as you think as well that these can't get any worse than they do.
So this one's a mic drop, okay? Megan's story.
Megan says, from my now fired OBGYN, after I tearfully explained to her how I contracted the incurable STD he gave me. Quote, women wake up every day to learn their husbands are pedophiles. What? Same OB, same visit. Quote, all the answers you need, you'll find in here. Hands me a Bible. From a family friend, when he learned about the disclosure Fuckwit was preparing for his counselor. Quote, Megan, when will you have enough truth? He cheated. We all get it. No, friend. He visited multiple hundreds of prostitutes, massage parlors, and Craigslist randos.
Sarah, this story's going to haunt me. Okay. The Bible. I have a friend from college who's an OBGYN, and I want to share this story with her. I think this person should be reported to the medical board. It's so, wow. Wow. You know, at least he's not a pedophile. Here's a Bible. Give it to Jesus. I want to say I don't believe it, but I believe it. I believe, because I read my mail, that this happened.
And also it's that whole thing about, well, he's done an appalling thing, but he could have done a more appalling thing. You know, that's not the point, isn't it? It's again undermining somebody's very real grief at what's happened, and also, you know, how her health has been affected as well.
Yeah, what's the Bible going to do for her chlamydia or her herpes or whatever? I mean, a Bible. I would put that on a Yelp review. I would go review this woman. I would tell that Bible story everywhere, online, up, down. I would hang her with that Bible. It's just okay. I guess we should also spend some time with don't you know enough? Don't you have enough truth? What is that about? You know, multiple hundreds of prostitutes, massage parlors, and Craigslist randos. Oh, I think they're just telling Megan to shut up about her experience. Shut up and pray. Shut up and pray. You know, yeah.
I think that possibly is that, you know, we've left the best to last, or the worst till last. To be
Yeah,
honest.
that was the worst one. I know they're all bad and they all hurt, and it's not the pain Olympics, but yeah. Drop that OBGYN. Review her. Don't go back. Drop those friends. Review them. Don't go back. I think that's the message we're going to leave on. So we'll try to do a more uplifting one next week. All right. That wraps another episode of Tell Me How You're Mighty. You want to leave us a mighty story or a fuckwit of the week submission? Check out our new website, tellmehowyourmighty.com. That's yours spelt Y-O-U-R-E. We've got all the episodes, show notes, links to our guests, and you can see the tea room where Sarah and I first met. If you enjoyed this episode, please review the podcast and follow us. Thanks. See you next week.